Carolina Panthers continue to spend all of their money and time and effort on the defensive side of the ball. And honestly, who can blame them considering the performance that this team had this past year? As we now have reports of Blackman coming in and Williams at the safety position, free safety, that is. We also know the Carolina Panthers have brought in a few other guys on the defensive side of the ball. And so at this point in time, as we get closer to the draft, I thought it would be important and a good time to sit down and look at the depth chart for the Carolina Panthers. So without further ado, we're going to dive right in and look at where this thing sits today. 1X is great for some things, not great for others. But this will do, so you get to see some of the garbage on the side, which I don't care too much for, but it is what it is. Looking at the current state of the defense, what we have here is your new additions in bold: Bobby Brown III, Turk Wharton, Tershawn Wharton, Trayvon Moehring, Christian Roseboom, and Patrick Jones II. Again, we only went too deep for the purposes of looking at the depth chart of where it is today. But let's go through it. Derek Brown, left to right, wherever you put him, fantastic. As long as he's healthy, one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. Bobby Brown taking over at the nose tackle position over Shai Tuttle. No Milton Williams, but having him in the middle should be a big boost for this defensive front. And then Turk Wharton. Now, I guess there's going to be discussion on is it going to be Wharton? Is it going to be A'Shawn Robinson? Whatever it is between that tandem, really good. I'll take it. And even going back to LeBron Ray, who the Panthers brought back, nice mix. And, knowing Shai Tuttle's not starting and you have him as a rotational piece, knock on wood, as long as guys don't get hurt, I'll take it. We then look at the linebacking core. Jadeveon Clowney, assumed to be the starter for right now. Trevin Wallace at inside linebacker. Josie Jewell, other starting inside linebacker. And DJ Wonham. So the only question that I have here is around Patrick Jones II, and if Patrick Jones is going to potentially push either Clowney or DJ Wonham for that starting job. I think that's a possibility. Probably more so Clowney, given the age. I don't know why there's a typo on there, but it doesn't matter. But likely Clowney is your guy that I would see. Or Patrick Jones is just the rotational piece that plugs and plays as needed. The other question I have is at the inside linebacker position with Christian Roseboom. I do think, and we will see, that Christian Roseboom could potentially apply some pressure to Trevin Wallace. I think Josie Jewell is fine. Big year for Trevin Wallace in this camp and seeing what he can do. I know the Panthers would like him to succeed. Of course, you drafted him in the third round. You want to see him be successful. Maybe the least controversial group has to be out, maybe outside of the ends. Cornerback with Mike Jackson and J.C. Horn. And then, as we were talking about, the safety position with Trayvon Moehring and now Damani Richardson and or Nick Scott. The Panthers are going to continue to talk. That rounds out that group. And then your nickel cornerback right now would be Shaw, Smith, Wade. So generally, what do you guys think? If you were to give a rating for where the defense is today, where would you put that? So for me, as I go back and look at the notes that I took down as I was going through this, the obvious thing is free safety. We know the Panthers are talking to a couple guys. Is there potential to sign one of those? Maybe. Hopefully, you're kind of putting yourself in a better position day by day, having each of the positions of needs filled so that, as we talked about, you can really go into the draft, drafting whoever, whatever you want, possibly on the offense with the wide receiver or tight end very early. We'll see. I think nickel, it's hard to find specifically. I'm marking this as a need only because it's hard to go out and find a true free agent nickel cornerback right now. I know there's some guys on the market, but the market's pretty thin. So I think the odds of possibly drafting another nickel cornerback to compete with Shaw Smith Wade, a true nickel, may be a good fit for the Carolina Panthers. Edge, without question, I still think edge is a need because you go beyond the group that we outlined. You still have DJ Johnson in the mix, Amari Barno. Like, guys, we need some help there, and it doesn't hurt to get younger at edge and or potentially draft an edge early. So we'll find out. Lastly, inside linebacker to me, still a position of need, although with Roseboom, again, better position than we were. But if you can, and I talked about this on the live stream, I talked about it in the other episodes that we put together. If you can get a really good linebacking core, it can work wonders. And we have seen what it did for this Carolina Panthers defense. And we're going to get another Luke Kuechly or Thomas Davis or Shaq Thompson or anything like that. But having a stout inside, or Dan Morgan, right? Having a stout inside defense, the one's calling the plays, the one keeping the guys together, understanding what's going on in the field, to me, is important. So, and as I go through this and realize I was just talking to you guys nonstop without video, so I'm going to have to go back and put something over that. But as we come to the end of this episode with a huge gap of me just talking away without actually being on screen, that is going to do it for today's episode. This is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.